Hey, I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, I'm going to explain how to get your students to actually use a sound wall or a phonics wall or whatever you have in your classroom, because it's not just a decoration, right? We want our kids to use it, so that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to do that now, and then also hit the little bell so that you don't miss out on any of the brand new videos I post about teaching literacy. Okay, so first of all, what is a sound wall? Well, I wish I had a sound wall set up so that I could show you, but you can also very easily do an image search of sound wall and see exactly what I'm talking about. But the basis of this is that it's a tool that kids are supposed to use and learn from, right? As they're learning phonics, as they're learning the relationships between phonemes and graphemes, so sounds and letters. So you might have cards on a sound wall that look something like this. They might have the mouth pronunciation of different sounds. You might see something called a vowel valley. You might see different ways that kids have learned to spell sounds, like the long O sound, for example, can be spelled with O silent E. It can be spelled with just the letter O, and there are other patterns too. But what's key about a sound wall is you only want to put up the patterns that you've actually taught the kids. So it should really be kind of like a living, breathing thing in your classroom. It's not just something that you leave up and you're done with. Now, I personally do reading intervention, and so a lot of my kids will have their own personal little phonics booklets. That's why I don't have a whole sound wall set up or anything like that, because all my kids are working on different skills. But all of that aside, this is kind of what a sound wall is like. And again, you can do an image search if you want to see exactly what one looks like all set up. And again, it's really beneficial for helping kids with decoding, but also spelling or encoding. Now, if you currently have a sound wall or some kind of phonics display in your classroom, has it been successful? Let me know in the comments if you feel like it has been a really good tool, or if you feel like it's just something that kind of is like decoration and the kids aren't using it as much as you'd like. These sound wall materials that I've been showing you, and of course many more than just these examples, come from my literacy clubs. There's a whole sound wall set in there for you. I'll include a link about the literacy clubs in the captions. You can go check those out. But let's talk about tips that can be used to get kids to use whatever tool you're giving them, whether it is a phonics wall, a sound wall, individual sound booklets, okay? So the first thing that you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you build the wall, you build your sound wall or whatever else with the kids. What you don't wanna do is you don't wanna start the school year with all of these sounds up. Even if they already have learned them in previous grades, it's still really important to review the sounds and put them up one by one so that, again, the kids don't just start to see the sound wall as just part of the decoration, right? Nothing that they can use. So building it with them is really key. And of course, the wall will grow as the year goes on. So if you haven't taught, for example, O and silent E yet, long O spelled with O and silent E, don't put it up on the wall. Another thing that is really key is modeling. And I don't mean just once. I mean modeling over and over and over. So maybe when you are modeling writing for kids and you're spelling a word, show them how you look up at the phonics wall or the sound wall, and you use that as a tool to accurately spell the word. Same thing with decoding. If they're looking for how are they pronouncing this short E sound, this Q can give them a reminder. And so you want to talk about that. And again, I don't mean once, I don't mean twice. I mean, you have to do this over and over again. The sound wall or a phonics wall can be a really good tool, but if they don't know how to use it and they don't see you using it, then of course they're not going to use it, right? You can also get the kids really actively involved in the wall. So have them during lessons, have them go up like a volunteer, go up and point to something, find this sound or find that sound, right? Have the kids that are sitting even point to it too, right? So again, just really getting them to engage with it. And then when you have a child who is asking you how to spell a word, a really great question that you can ask them in return is, where could you look on the sound wall to help you figure that out? Or where could you look on the phonics wall to help you figure that out, right? Because that then puts the responsibility back on them and it encourages them to use the tool that you've given them. Okay. The last tip is something that probably seems obvious, but honestly, just make sure that wherever you put your sound wall, it's in a place where kids will be able to see it as they're reading and spelling. Because yes, it needs to be visible and you need to be using it during your lessons. But if the kids are off reading and spelling somewhere different in the classroom, most of the time they need to be able to see it, or they need to at least be able to turn slightly and see it easily, because if it's not somewhere that's visible when they're actually doing the work, then it would totally make sense that they wouldn't use it, right? All right, I hope that these quick tips were helpful. Again, if you want materials for creating your own sound wall, definitely check out the literacy clubs. The literacy clubs are about so much more than just the sound wall. This is just one of the tools that I give teachers. You get access to literally hundreds of dollars of printable resources as soon as you join and become a member. Members are only allowed to join during like a certain time of year, by the way. So definitely get on the wait list if it's not that time of year when you can join. But you get access to hundreds of dollars worth of literacy materials when you join, but then every single month you also get brand new materials to help you differentiate. You get brand new small groups, you get brand new centers, and everything is differentiated so that you can truly meet the needs of your kids. Because yeah, the literacy clubs do have some tools like this that are really helpful, but at the core of what we do is we make differentiation easy for you because you have kids with a lot of needs and you don't have infinite time to prepare materials, so we do that for you. All right, definitely check out the literacy clubs in the link in the caption and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Before you leave, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.